thought that it would be fun to recommend one book for every letter of the alphabet and have a little mini review of why. So, one book has a girl running over a guy she just met with her car. One book features a painting with a mysterious past. One of these books gets every single chili pepper I could possibly throw at it. One gets down on the very first page. And one follows a woman who is completely convinced that she is fine and she's not, in fact, fine. And I thought that it would be fun to recommend one book for every letter of the alphabet and have a little mini review of why. So these are the first five. Starting with A, Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. If you like a grumpy sunshine romance, I think you'll probably like this one as much as I did. This is the third book in an interconnected series called The Brown Sisters. I would recommend going ahead and reading the other two books though. They're really good, but this is the one I'm recommending for A. And this story follows Eve Brown, who needs a job, and her search takes her to a B&B owned by a very particular man named Jacob Wayne. I really like books that have good banter, and Eve and Jacob were so good at it. They mutually dislike each other for very good reasons, and they're also forced to be in close proximity to each other again for very good reasons. And of course, they can't help but fall in love with each other. The spice is very spicy in this book, but I also liked that Talia Hibbert talks about autism and the feelings of abandonment without making either of those topics feel like they're separate from the romance. And Jacob's icy exterior is the first one to fall in this book. So if that microtrope is your jam, then you will be pleased. B is a much shorter book where things get considerably more chaotic, and The Bootlegger's Bounty by Adriana Herrera gets every single chili pepper I could possibly throw at a book. It is extremely spicy, and this is an adult historical fiction romance novella. It's such a mouthful, but this adult historical romance novella is set during the Prohibition, and you're going to hit the high seas with two men and a woman, a jazz singer, a gangster, and a ship captain. And they all end up being completely down for each other, and whether they're slapping cheeks or slapping other people, everybody in this book has very ambitious ideas about where they think their lives should be and how they want their lives to look. And even though it's a novella, I thought that it packed a lot of different topics into the story. And I also like that the plot itself is pretty straightforward. They're on a quest to get to New York. That's the main plot line. And so if you want to read something that is historical, very short, and extremely spicy, hit the high seas and read The Bootlegger's Bounty. C, on the other hand, is also very spicy. Curvy Girl Summer by Danielle Allen is what I think that you should check out if you want to read a book featuring a slow burn friends to lovers romance. And for my audiobook listeners, I thought that the narrator, Wesley Chaban, did a fabulous job making each person feel different from one another. The main character in this book is a plus-sized, black, almost 30-year-old woman who is absolutely done entertaining trash men. And of course, there's going to be one man out there who actually listens to her, remembers the little things, and makes her feel very seen. And I thought that the chemistry and sexual tension in this book between her and her love interest was off the charts. But warning, the spice starts in this particular book on the very first page. But I thought that the situation was really funny. And so with that all being said, if you listen to this book, go ahead and listen to it with headphones unless you're adventurous like that. I thought the dialogue was very flirty. It was real. They had real conversations, and it was, again, full of banter. I love books with good banter. Her uncle, though, he is not it. He is not invited to anything. Overall, though, I love Curvy Girl Summer. If you like medium-paced, banter-filled contemporary romances featuring dating, body positivity, and friends to lovers as a main trope, Curvy Girl Summer would be what I would recommend and is my pick for C. My pick for D is surprisingly not a romance. It's called Do What Godmother Says by Ella Stratton, and the title is a little less advice and it's more of a warning. This is a psychological thriller about a woman who inherits a mysterious painting tied to her family's past, and the more that she learns about it, the stranger things start to feel and get around her. And what I liked was the multi-generational mix of art, obsession and buried familial history. And most of the story takes place in the present day, but it's also set in the 1920s Harlem Renaissance. And while it was confusing to me at first, I thought that once everything clicked and I knew what was really going on, I really started to enjoy how the POVs switched and moved around and how the past was connected back to the present. I really like historical fiction stories and like that the horror in this book wasn't just connected to the mysterious painting. A lot of it comes from also understanding what the Black artists had to deal with at the time just to get their work seen, including relying on wealthy white patrons to promote or display their talents. And this story was partially inspired by the working relationship between Zora Neale Hurston and Charlotte Osgood Mason. And Charlotte made people refer to her as godmother, and she financially supported a number of Black artists and writers, including Langston Hughes. Ara Nash and York Whitaker narrated this story, and I thought that they each did a wonderful job keeping me connected to the story. Even if I did think that it started out slow, it still had me asking the question, would I keep a family painting if I knew it had a strange history? And for me, absolutely not. It would have to go. I would not be okay. And that brings me to my final recommendation, which is E, and that is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. And Eleanor is one of those characters where the longer I spent with her, the more I realized that there was a lot more going on underneath the surface. And she lives alone. She sticks to basically the same exact routine every week, and she doesn't really understand a lot of the social rules and cues that everyone else seems to follow. She's completely convinced that she's fine, but she is not, in fact, completely fine. This was a 5-star read for me, and I really wouldn't call this a romance, even if there could be some romantic subtext floating around. For me, this story was a lot more about understanding loneliness, friendship, and trauma, and how that can manifest into your adult life, and watching someone slowly let other people into their life and hopefully change for the better. Eleanor's character growth is what really got me sucked into this book, and I appreciated that she had someone that cared about her. So if you like character-driven books where getting to know the main character is basically the essence of the story, I think that you should check this one out. And so with that, that's 5 books down. Stay tuned for episode 2 where I'll go through 5 more.